All right, let's go to biggest pleasant surprise or overachiever. So pleasant surprise, obviously, a team that we think, one of us thinks will be a lot better than the general consensus.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Go.
I've touched on this in previous shows, but I'm going to hit it again here. I really, really believe the Warriors could be top 6 in the West. I do. Mm-hmm. I know that there's, they have very little margin for error, right? If Steph gets hurt for any length of time at all, they're toast. If Steph falls off a bit at this age and this stage of his career, which is, which historically happens, they're toast. If Draymond can't anchor the defense at the level that they're accustomed to, they could be toast. But if you look at the level that Steph and Draymond played at last season, especially when Draymond was actually available, they were going to be a 50-win team without the suspensions. Podziemski had a really nice rookie season. Trace Jackson-Davis had some nice moments. Kuminga made a leap and maybe poised to make another one. They just extended Moses Moody because they clearly believe in him. They brought on Kyle Anderson and DeAnthony Melton and Buddy Hield. They're really deep. They're almost too deep. Steve Kerr's even talking about, I'm going to have a difficult time. It's a good problem to have. But they've got really great depth, and they've still got a guy who, at his best, in Steph, is a top 5 player. I know he's probably not in the MVP or the preseason MVP running, but there's a scenario here where the Warriors, especially given the volatility in the middle of the West, I think the Warriors are going to be a pleasant surprise. I think they finish actually in the top 6 in the West, even with a chance of being top 4. Crazy?
Yeah. No, not crazy. I mean, this is we talked about that a few pods ago, didn't we? Like that's not all the way crazy. I don't think I'd be a full buyer on that, but I don't think it's necessarily absurd. My surprise team is going to be, again, I had multiples. I actually had the Heat as my 1B. And I could convince myself with them of the logic that you just laid out. But I could also convince myself of all right, Jimmy Butler, Bam, Hero, Jaime Jaquez with another year. They typically don't underachieve. I mean, the floor is usually pretty stable for them. So I could make an argument, on the flip side of that. But I do agree, even if I make that argument, you're not winning. You're not a championship level team, right? But be an interesting team for me. But I think surprise is ultimately going to be the Sacramento Kings for me. A little fall off last year. We thought they were, kind of knocking on the door 2 years ago. But I think DeMar DeRozan, not as a skill set as much, but just as a human being, as a locker room presence, as a guy who's got a ton of experience. I think you plug him in. He's a tough bucket getter in a way that, I know they have guys that can score the ball, but I lump scores into different categories, like what you ideally have to do offensively to get them a bucket. And, the type of scorer I'm talking about is the one that you don't have to do shit for. Give him the ball, get out of his way. He's going to hit a tough shot, no matter if their primary defender is on him and has done a great job or not. And I think he fits that bill. And I just like them. I think they've got young legs. They've got ascending players. And you drop a player like DeMar DeRozan into that, and I think they could be a surprise team in the West. I think they could have a nice bounce back.
I was really tempted, actually, to go with them. And I think the potential is there. We're all going to worry about, can they play defense at any level? But they might just be so incredible offensively in terms of their efficiency and the way the options they've got now with DeRozan in the mix, that I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but this is an offense-driven league primarily. It's nice if you can also play elite defense, but they already had a really dynamic offense. They've got a great 1-2 punch in Fox and Sabonis. I'm with you on all of the things you said about DeRozan. The gravitas and experience and just wisdom he brings, really smart dude, thoughtful guy. I think not that locker room necessarily needed a leader of his type, but I think maybe they do. It can't hurt. And he's still playing at a high enough level too that you got to listen, right? It's tough at the end of careers where guys who were great players and leader types, but now they're a bit player, and your voice is not as strong. DeRozan's voice still matters, and so I like all of it. By the way, not for nothing, De'Aaron Fox was the first ever winner of the NBA's new Clutch Player of the Year award. Still a weird one, but whatever, NBA. But De'Aaron Fox was the winner of the first Clutch Player of the Year award. DeRozan's been a finalist for that award the last 2 years. So like that's exactly what you kind of wanted, right? If you're the Kings, don't have everything rest on down the stretch, just De'Aaron trying to manufacture something. Now you got another guy who can get off a shot anywhere.
Yeah, totally. And as far as the leadership, no, I mean, I don't think they were lacking in leadership overall, but there are within the leadership, of your team, there are parts of that general leadership that could be stronger or that you might be missing. Like a young player can be a leader, but just because he's missing perspective, might not be able to lead in certain situations. And I think you plug a guy like DeRozan, he's seen everything. There wasn't anything necessarily missing in leadership, but you're just adding to the collective leadership when you bring him in there. I think it's a good fit.
Do you worry at all about just like the spacing kind of thing here, right? Like DeRozan's not a 3-point shooter, blah, 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 blah. Like can you account for that and offset that? Yeah,
I mean, so listen, I mean, most people who listen could probably figure out I'm not like a true analytics like guy. I am a hybrid. Like I'm not completely old school. Spacing is an issue. I think sometimes it's harder with bigs when you're talking about spacing because their defender is going to, organically be more anchored to the paint, which causes problems. I think when you're dealing with perimeter guys, you can figure out ways that it doesn't have to completely kill your spacing. People are going to throw Russ at me. And that's fair, but he's not DeMar DeRozan. Like, do you know what I mean? Like those are two different animals offensively. So I do see where people come from with that argument, Howard, and I have like wrestled with it a little bit, but ultimately I think they figured that out.
I agree.